I'm Jeremy Stroach, joined again by John Anderson. Those of you who know me, probably won't be surprised to learn that I'm talking about NetBox today. Don't have a whole lot of time, so we'll get through this a little bit fast, but basically we're going to go over a little bit about what NetBox is, its position as a source of truth, and how we can get data into and out of it. So real quick, NetBox was originally developed by myself as an internal product back when I worked for DigitalOcean. Shortly after that, got open sourced in around June 2016. So it's been out in the real world here for about 3.5 years, around there. We started with a few different design tenets. First off, one was replicating the real world. So if you have a 42-unit rack, you can't put a device in unit 43. If you have an IP address, it has to be assigned to an interface, not to a device. Right? This is how we actually configure things. When we think about how things are configured in the real world, we want that to reflect directly in the data model of NetBox. Second design tenet we started with was reflecting the desired versus the operational state. John talked about that a little bit earlier, right? It's not what VLANs are configured on a device, but what VLANs are supposed to be configured on a device. And finally, favoring simplicity over completeness, right? As an open source project maintained by a few people, basically when time is available. Obviously, we can't do everything. We don't have the same development strength as a commercial product. So we really thought, let's target 80% solutions and work on what we can reasonably do and deliver that. Little bit of history. I'll skip that because we talked about that just briefly. But we do have up to 4 maintainers now, including John and myself. Current stats: over 1,000 forks, 5,600 GitHub stars. Can't tell you how many installations around the world, but based off these numbers, it's obviously got a fair bit of interest. I'll talk about the architecture a little bit. So NetBox is built on the Django platform. If you're not familiar with that, Django's a Python web framework, so it gets a lot of its strengths from Django and from Django plugins. Like the REST API is a Django plugin. It runs behind an HTTP daemon. You can use Nginx, Apache, whatever suits you. And then below the Python application layer, running as a WSGI process, so using Unicorn or micro WSGI. PostgreSQL database, and implementing uses Redis as for queuing and caching. So it's an in-memory value store. The data model is organized basically by discipline. So we've got IPAM, DSIM, virtualization circuits, and so forth. And you'll see that kind of the navigation menu in NetBox closely mirrors the data model. Within each of those apps, you have the concept of models, and foreign keys or fields keys within those models track all the relationships. That's so you can click around and basically you can go from a circuit to an interface to a device to a rack to a site and all over. It's all intertwined. Real quick on the left here, you've got what a Django model looks like in the source code. So you've got fields on. This is just a simplified version of the device model as an example. So you've got name, status, device type, stuff like that. Those are all Django fields. Those correlate to PostgreSQL fields in the database, in the table. Not really surprising from what you'd expect there. But this abstraction allows us to, and obviously this is a simplified version, but setting attributes and stuff like that on that through Django allows us to abstract from raw SQL, and it allows for much quicker development. Here's another view of the REST API. So again, we have the same device model on the left. On the right, it's a JSON representation that you would see of that through NetBox's REST API. 3 major interfaces for getting data into and out of NetBox. We have the Web UI, the REST API, and the Python. Python/CLI. We sometimes call it a CLI. We're really talking about the Python interactive interpreter. You've seen plenty of views of the web interface. This is a view of the REST API. Right now, this is a nice human-friendly view. You can see it's rendered. It's got syntax highlighting and everything. It makes sense. It's indented. It looks pretty. This is a function of the REST API inspecting the browser's user agent. If you make a request through curl or something, it's just going to dump raw JSON. So that's just the convenience function. And then here's a view of the interactive shell. So again, this is just Python. We have what we call MB shells, or just a really lightweight wrapper around that. Those things like automatically import all the models and stuff you might want to use, again as a convenience. But this is the Django ORM, an abstraction of SQL basically that makes it a lot easier to work with things. You can easily count the number of devices, filter based on any number of attributes. And that is actually how the code is written inside NetBox itself. So we're not writing raw SQL in most cases. We're using the Django operational or organizational relation map, something like that. Never remember what it calls for. But here's an example. So like we're defining a site. We're giving it a name and a slug. assigning that to the variable s in Python. Call s.save. It gets created in the database. That triggers a SQL insert statement. Here's what s looks like. Here's the representation. Here's its primary key. So just a unique number. And then we can modify this just like any other Python object, and it's just those modifications are being reflected in the database in real time. So as a source of truth, we talked about different SOT domains and SOT aggregation, right? Where does NetBox fit in? All of these are things NetBox is good at. There's plenty of stuff that NetBox is not good at, right? If you wanted to model overlay VPNs, or if you wanted to model routing protocol adjacencies, there isn't a model for that in NetBox today. That's where we talk about different domains, right? And figuring out where to put what data where, which application suits which sort of data best. It's not to say we will never do that in NetBox, but because of where we're at today, it's not a thing. Populating data, we like to go over the three. I call it collect, curate, and populate. Right? Collection is getting that from the network, maybe using network importer, something like that. Curating is that step of human validation. And then populating is actual taking that curated, validated data that some human logic has been applied to and said, okay, this is good, now I want to put that in NetBox. So 3 distinct phases. Not really limited to NetBox, really. That's any source of truth. All right. This is more interesting stuff. All right, so how do we get data into NetBox? Well, one is built-in CSV import functionality. So basically, if you've got a spreadsheet, you want to put it into NetBox, you render that as CSV, do some modification with the fields. This is an example of importing devices. Mandatory fields, device role, manufacturer, model name, so forth. And then you've got optional fields as well. So if you have a spreadsheet, you give it these columns, go ahead and fill in the data, curate it, right? And then paste it in there, and you import, you get devices created automatically. Most objects in NetBox have CSV import ability. Another way to go is custom scripts. This is a recent introduction to NetBox. Came out in 2.6.2 or 3, something like that, just recently. But basically, this allows you to write scripts that will automatically or execute arbitrary Python within NetBox with the option of prompting user for data. So you can actually write a script that will say, okay, I want to create a new branch office. I know what I have to do for that because I know a branch office needs 2 routers, it needs 3 switches and whatever. And you can distill all that logic into the Python code. And all you have to do is really prompt the user for the few bits and pieces that they have to provide you, right? So, okay, pick a site, pick a subnet for it, maybe assign some circuits to it and hit go. And I don't have a great example here for it, but all that all that logic gets contained within the script. So as a user, I run that script, and then the script is actually creating those objects based on the variables that I provided.
Wow, so that's great. I just wanted to ask you about that a little bit more because I'm a huge NetBox fan. I use it for all my clients. I push it like Skittles. It's out everywhere. And I'm in the ISP world, so I mean we've taken something that's GCIM and we use it for LTE towers become sites in our NetBoxes and things like that. So anyway, this is I think a really neat idea because I've worked with a lot of my clients on how to iterate out of NetBox just manually, how to understand how do we iterate VLAN subnets and things like that. But now you've got this tool in there where you're saying I can basically iterate automatically for a new site. So VLAN numbers and subnets will be able to you can kind of increment dynamically with this?
Yeah, so when I showed the Django ORM earlier, you can write that out as a script, save it, it pops up on the web UI, and then the form is created from variables that you define in the script. This is really born out of a need to allow people to do some customization within NetBox without introducing the burden of maintaining a custom fork.
Okay.
So it provides a lot of flexibility there.
Yeah, I was going to make one additional point to that. It's a core concept to this, if it's not quite clicking with anyone, is you may have some external scripts to Python that are executing this business logic. What this allows you to do is take that same logic and put it inside of NetBox. So all of that's contained within one platform at this point.
Got it. Okay.
So how new is this, and are there really great tutorials and examples to show people how to actually develop these things?
Came out about a month ago. There's an example in the documentation where I did at some point we'd like to curate like a community repo, but it's still fairly new, so people are still getting their heads around it. Another way to go, of course, is the REST API. Nothing really. If you use the REST API before, you have a pretty good idea of what that involves, right? You're just creating the serialized data representations and sending that into NetBox. Here's an example of what that looks like. Here's a curl command on the left. Here's my JSON data. I'm creating a new prefix. With the only 2 values I really care about are here. Notice here we're specifying the role by name. And then on the right is the response. So this is NetBox saying, okay, that's valid. I created your prefix. Here it is. Here's a nested representation of its status and its role and all that good stuff. Exporting data, webhooks. Jason already gave you a very great example of that. But basically, again, here's another look at that form. You're basically saying, okay, I want to create a webhook that's applicable to the following object types. I'll give it a name. Create, update, and or delete, and where to send the data. Custom scripts, again, for exporting data, right? So we looked at it for importing. Again, it's arbitrary Python, so you can do whatever you want in it. Here's an example where I needed to just record all the devices in NetBox to a file, right? I can write a script for that. This is what it looks like after I've executed a script. When you're writing a script, you can have it log whatever information you'd like to. We have markdown support and all that good stuff. You can have it save a file to disk. You can have it send export data to a foreign system. You can have it create a PDF if you wanted to, whatever you want to do. So a lot of options of that. And finally, getting data from the REST API. I'll show a brief example of that. This is using the NetBox client. It's another open source product. It's currently hosted on the DigitalOcean's repo, but it's out there. It's been around for a while. So here we're using the NetBox API client within Python outside of anything that has to do with NetBox just to return data. This is more of a convenience function because you're actually getting native data types back with instead of having to process the JSON manually. And finally, export templates. So another way to go. Show the admin UI real quick. Sorry, now I'm going through this really fast. This is basically a Django or a Jinja 2 template that you can use to render data within the context of a query set. So a query set is a filtered list of objects. So if I apply to, let's say I find all devices installed on site X and I hit export and I select my export template here, it's going to render that. So the query set is going to be all devices in site X because I've already filtered that through the UI. And then I can apply whatever logic I want to here within a template. And this is just an example showing creating a Nagios configuration file, just to kind of drive home the point that this is not limited to CSV. You can create whatever you want with it. In theory, you could even create non-text documents, like you might be able to generate a PDF. Really depends on how much effort you put into the template at that point. But you could do things like generate we get free radius config files, zone files, stuff like that. So there's a lot of ways to get that out of there. And the nice part about that is you can then reference this export URL from other systems to have it pull down that data natively. You don't have to worry about any kind of man-in-the-middle translation. Finally, NetBox and network to code. So fortunately, for a long time, NetBox has been an open source product, and now we're actually getting into the business of providing commercial support for it, answering repeated requests from the community. So contact us about that. Obviously, we deal with it quite a bit. It's a central part of a lot of the work that we do, and we're well positioned to help you succeed.
And NetBox will always remain an open source project. All we're doing in this is offering a commercial support through network to code.
Yeah, excellent point. Yeah, NetBox itself it's always going to be an open source product. We're not, we don't maintain any kind of customized release for it other than what clients ask of us. Any questions on NetBox?
Actually, I have a question that's not specifically in the scope of the automation. I know this is probably a question you get a lot, but what about DNS integration? Is that on the radar? I've seen it on Git that you guys have talked about it. It's been mentioned. Is that still on the radar?
There's a feature request for it. Yeah, it's still out there. Whether it's going to exist in the NetBox proper or as a plugin under some future iteration of NetBox is still kind of up in the air.
Okay.
Yep.
And the other question I had, which is a little more, it's probably a little bit outside your scope, but there's a lot of ISPs that are using NetBox now, and there was actually a question if you guys have ever considered outside plant management, like fiber management, since you are getting into the physical layer of cabling management, if anybody's ever talked about that.
It's come up, but I think the consensus has been that that's just too much to undertake.
Sure, I know you got to pick your battles.
Yeah, there are some applications that are dedicated to just doing outside plant management.
Yeah, it gets really complex for sure.
But yeah, thank you.
Plugins is officially on the radar. So functionality that the core team deems may be outside of the scope of NetBox Core could very well be a plugin in the future.
As it relates to the commercial offering that you guys are doing? As far as if you want to develop that because you have a need for it and it's outside of the scope of the open source project?
Yeah. So certainly plugin development is something that network to code can directly do, but the plugin feature itself will be a core functionality at some point.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.